Obviously, we see a few clues, but I also think we see some really significant differences. In oral arguments, for instance, justices like Sotomayor and Kagan were clearly skeptical of the arguments by Coach Kennedy, whereas they were not having that same sort of skepticism against Shurtleff, who had brought the Christian flag case. And so I think it's pretty obvious that this case, the Bremerton case, will not be a unanimous decision. And then the other thing is, we had the majority opinion actually only had 6 justices actually sign on to it in the Christian flag case, and by Breyer, and it's really a free speech case argument. He doesn't really make it into a religious establishment question, and I don't think they can avoid that as much as they did in that majority opinion in the football case. And I do think we see what Gorsuch is going to write. He's very sour on Lemon, and he spends his whole time writing about that in his concurring opinion. And I'm sure in hopefully a dissent, or whatever he's writing, be it majority, concurring, or dissent, he'll be complaining about Lemon as well in this case. So I mean, there's some hints, but I don't think there's any reason to suggest that it will be the same line, because I'm pretty confident it will not be a unanimous decision.
That's interesting. What about you, Amanda? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this flag case is so particular to its facts. I mean, really particular to this particular flagpole in Boston. And we saw Justice Breyer and his New England, status come out in the writing. It's kind of a fun opinion where he's talking about Boston City Hall is the ugliest building in America.
Brutalist architecture gets no respect.
And kind of an interesting point. Justice Breyer, in his long career, has never written a majority opinion in a church-state case. And so this, again, wasn't a religion clause case. It was a free speech case. But this might be the closest he's ever come to writing a majority opinion. But in that case, again, the government speech was a flagpole. I feel like a broken record. It was not in the public school context, where we have very special rules, very protective rules. I think in that case, it wasn't, it's a situation that could be easily rectified. If Boston didn't want to have all people there, they can change their policy. And the justices said that in this case. The only other clue, I totally agree with Brian. I don't think the Bremerton case will be unanimous. I do think that in some way Justice Gorsuch will talk about Lemon. And the only other tea leaf to read here is Justice Alito also wrote a concurring opinion where he talked about his view of what the government speech doctrine should be. And I'm calling it the public information officer role. He basically says that the only thing that should be considered government speech is a person whose job it is to speak on the government when they're delivering a government-approved message. Okay, so that is a super narrow idea of what government speech would be. And so if he were writing, in this case, obviously Coach Kennedy is not a public information officer. So he wouldn't think that this would be government speech, I think, if he were writing. But he only had Justice Gorsuch and Justice Thomas join him on that opinion. So I don't think that we have a majority of the court who is going to go with limiting government.